Harbor Me, Chapter 34. The first time I met Holly's mom, I was 7 years old, and Holly and I had only known each other for a few months. Kira, Holly's mom, had asked my uncle about doing my hair, and he agreed. No, he hadn't agreed. He nearly jumped into her arms before she could even get the words out. So the first time I was at their house, when I was sitting in their kitchen with my hair washed and dripping onto the towel, and Kira asked about my full name, about my family. The rest of the group got so quiet I stopped talking. My throat felt like it was closing up. "You got this, Red," Amari said to me. His smile loosened the words. I looked at Holly helplessly. "It's okay," she said. "I'm here with you. I can help if you need me." Everyone nodded. I smiled at her, relieved, and Holly put her arm around me. "The thing I've never told you guys is that my dad's in prison." "Your dad's in prison?" Tiago and Amari said at the same time. I nodded. "For what?" Tiago said. "Did he rob somebody?" "He was driving," I said slowly. "He was driving a car. My mother was in it." The room felt like it was breathing for me. As I told the story of the accident, Esteban's eyes filled and Ashton put his head down on his hands. When I got to the part about my father running home from my uncle's help, Amari said, "Geez, Red, I didn't even know." He said it quietly, almost under his breath. But in the words, there was so much love that it felt like he was reaching across the circle and hugging me. Holly was holding onto my hand now. "Is he in jail for life?" Amari said finally. "And plus, I'm sorry about your mom." "He's going to be coming out soon," I said. Not exactly sure when. "This is too deep," Amari said. "No wonder you so quiet, Red. You all kinds of still water." When I first met Kira, she asked me about my people, and I told her my mom died. I waited for her to say something like, "I'm so sorry," or "You poor baby," or "Oh, sweetie," but she didn't. She was combing my hair at the time, and she stopped for a minute, and her hand got real shaky. "I remember you told my mom that your mom died when you were 3, Holly said, and that you didn't really remember her." "My mommy's still with us," Esteban said. "I feel lucky for that." "Why was her hand shaky?" Ashton said. "Was she feeling sad for you?" "No," Holly said. "That's the crazy part." She jumped up from her seat, then sat down again real fast and started tapping her feet like I wasn't telling the story fast enough. "Tell them, Haley." "I'm trying," I said. Kira asked me if I was Beryl Anderson's child, and I told her Beryl was my mom. "Your moms knew each other?" Mary asked. "That's wild." "Yes," Holly said, "it's really wild. Our moms were pregnant together." When my mom told us that, I was like, "Wait, what? You and who and what?" I laughed. "But your mom just ignored you," I said. Kira came around the chair and crouched in front of me. Her face was all worried and sad. But it was happy too, remember? Holly nodded. She brushed my hair back away from my forehead and said, "Your mom and I used to go to Tom's Diner over on Washington after our Lamaze classes. We'd order so much food, the waitress would always ask if someone was joining us." And then Kira laughed. And I remember I wanted to laugh too, but my heart felt like it was competing with my tongue for space inside my mouth. So I just whispered to Kira, "You knew my mother?" I stopped talking. It was hard to tell the story, but it wasn't hard. It felt like everyone in the room was leaning in and listening and really caring. It felt like everyone around me wanted everything to turn out all right. "We got you, Red," Amari said quietly. "You know that, right?" I nodded, smiled at him, and continued. Kira told me how much I looked like my mother, and how when she first saw me, she thought it was possible, but it was too much of a coincidence. But Brooklyn's small when you think about it, right? Everyone nodded. It must have been like Like a resurrection, Ashton said. Like here was somebody that could answer your questions. Yeah, I said, that's so true. I had a million questions. There were like a million conversations I had in my mind with my mother. But the first thing I asked Holly's mom was what stuff my mom loved. I remember she looked really sad then. I said it was like she was going back to being with my mom and remembering everything about it. She thought for a long time, then finally said, your mom loved to laugh. Even when things felt like they were falling apart, she found a way to laugh. I wanted to ask what made my mom laugh, but I didn't. For some reason, knowing that she loved laughing was enough for that moment. What about your dad? Esteban said. Did Kira know your dad too? I shook my head. She never met him. Kira said once she and my mom became friends, they had like their ladies thing going on. Like my mom and her girls, Amari said, eating all that food after going to spin class. Women are crazy. Both me and Molly said, hey, at the same time. Amari threw his hands up. You know I'm just messing with y'all. Tell them about the sun, Holly said, the magic. Oh yeah, there's a high window in Holly's kitchen, I said, and this crazy thing happened. The sky, like it shifted and everything got bright. And Kira laughed and said that she and my mom used to always talk about the light. How they thought light shifting was the dead sending us messages, love messages. She said that every time the sun goes behind a cloud and then comes out again, that's a message from the other side. I looked over at Esteban. He was staring up at the sky as though he was waiting for the sun to send him a message. He had one hand in his pocket, and I knew he was touching his poem. For the whole time that Kira was braiding my hair, I said she talked about my mother. What she remembered, how they lost touch, how she heard about the accident, and I told her all about my uncle and how he made me laugh and how he always told me that my laugh reminded him of my mom. I stopped talking. No one said anything for a long time. Holly smiled at me and nodded, giving me a thumbs up. I felt lighter, free somehow. Like I'd been carrying the weight of that story in me, not even knowing it was heavy. Like so many bricks had been lifted off me. Esteban was hugging his legs again, but he was watching me now. Your story makes me think that I'm happy my puppy's alive, Haley. I mean, because of your story, I can feel some hope because no matter what, we're going to see him again. He didn't die, and that's good. Even if everything has to change to be with him again. At least I could be with him again, right? We all nodded. He's still writing poetry, Esteban said, and breathing. He looked at me. Even though it's kind of sad what happened and everything, it feels happy too, that we have each other. Like that thing Miss Laverne said about how we have to harbor each other, you remember? I nodded. I feel like your story does that. You're my same age. You have to be strong for your dad. It makes me feel like I can be strong too. And everyone else said, yeah, me too. For real.